So as you guys know, over the past couple years, Jake Paul has been calling out Canelo, Anthony Joshua, Gilberto Ramirez, Badou Jack, all of this because one day he aspires to be world champion. And with the WBA ranking him number 14 in the division, which is absolutely, I try not to curse, but considering a majority of his opponents aren't even ranked. I mean, Woodley, Ben Askren, Silva, Chavez, he was inactive for over a year, and he wasn't even ranked in the cruiserweight division. Because he's not a cruiserweight, he's a middleweight. Mike Tyson was inactive for 20 years, yet he's number 14. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's just for business sake. But considering he is in the top 20, he is now eligible to fight for the world title against Gilberto Ramirez, who I believe holds the WBO cruiserweight title. Badou Jack holding the WBC. And Jake actually put out a tweet saying he's more interested in the Badou Jack fight, which I think it's obvious why. Badou Jack is 40 years old. He has had one fight in the last 3 years, and you know, based off his last performance, you could see there is a bit of a decline. Many people actually saying he lost the fight versus Mikalian, but he would beat Jake, and I feel Badou would beat Jake. Again, I talked about this in my last video, Jake Paul and the level he is at, and why I said him fighting Chavez Jr. was acceptable, because he doesn't have the background that a lot of these guys who went into the pro scene when they were 18 after having a full-on 10-year amateur career. Jake Paul didn't have that. He went pro at 23, fought a YouTuber, basketball player, couple MMA guys, tried against a boxer, lost, went back to an MMA guy, and yeah, here we are. And in every fight he has, you kind of see a glimpse of the inexperience in certain situations, because he hasn't been in the game long enough to experience it. You look at him against Mike Perry, who wasn't a threat at all. Like, Mike is a trash boxer, but he was walking Jake down the whole fight, and you started to see fatigue set in as early as round 3 because Jake was fighting at someone else's pace rather than his own. Even in the Chavez fight, there were points I thought he was going to fall over out of exhaustion, because when the going gets tough, his technique starts to break down, his defense starts to break down. You start to see the holes in his game, and if he goes against any of these world-class fighters who aren't past their prime, who have been active, fighting against other world-class fighters, yeah, it's game over. Because even when watching the Chavez fight, he had a great last couple rounds, and you know, if there was an extra 2 and it was a 12-rounder, I really wonder if Jake would have won the fight. Because the way he was reacting to a lot of Chavez's shots, like I said before, it looked as though he was gonna fall. Because he had spent a majority of his career getting hit by MMA guys in boxing. But when getting hit by actual boxers who have been doing this and really know how to time and strategically perfectly place a proper punch, it's completely different.
What's the hardest you ever been hit by? Who?
Probably Tommy Fury with an uppercut.
And were you dazed or?
Yeah, I couldn't see shit.
What was the hardest punch you ever faced?
Probably Tommy. I think more so his timing, right? I think timing's more important than anything. Like Tyron was strong, Mike Tyson was strong, but Tommy had better timing. And like placement of punches.
What does he think will happen when he faces a world champion? And back to what I was saying earlier, Jake, he produces a lot of volume. Chavez fight, Mike Perry fight, threw over 50 punches around. Those guys, for the most part, were punching bags. You get in there with a world-class fighter, they're gonna capitalize on your mistakes. You thought Tommy's timing was good. Dude, even Mike Perry was timing him off his jab. He was catching him with the left hook all night. And when looking at Jake and Zurdo side by side, it's like there's no way he knocks him out, because I've said this before, Jake at 200 pounds, I don't think it suits him. I think 190 to 195 at most is a good weight for him. And he couldn't even hurt Chavez Jr. I was gonna say knockout, but he couldn't even drop him or really face him with his power. And Chavez is a super middleweight, fought most of his career at 168. But when you look at Badou Jack, 6'1", 200 plus pounds, Zurdo, 200 plus pounds, 6'2", which Jake's height is very questionable. Google says he's 6'1". You look at him facing off with Zurdo, who is supposedly 6'2", and they look like 4 or 5 inches apart. And as far as the Anthony Joshua fight goes, I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Jake runs the PFL. He had Ngannou on one of his shows. You look at them side by by side and you're like, Ngannou stomps on this guy, like he towers over this dude. Yeah, Josh was taller than Ngannou and knocked out Ngannou in 2 rounds. Joshua would shit on him. First right in, he'd be killed. If it was up to me, the Tommy Fury rematch would be the fight, you know, redeem that loss depending on how you win, if you win. And I hear a lot of people saying Jake beats him a second time. I wonder based off what? Because he gained 20 pounds? That Tommy just fought at 200. You know, he's a big guy as well, and looking back at their first fight, take away the knockdown and it was a clean sweep by Tommy. He outlanded Jake every single round, so if he can't beat him, then forget about any world title talks. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Am I being too harsh? I said it before and I'll say it again. Jake being a novice, never fighting a day in his life, coming into the sport, taking on world champions of MMA, and listen, people have a problem with the MMA fighters coming over. Listen, no one had a problem when Conor fought Floyd. People said, oh, Mayweather was old, Conor was in his prime. Yeah, well, Jake had never had a fight in his life. Who'd he fight? Nate Robinson? Taking on Tyron Willie Anderson Silva? These were real 50-50s, and no manager of a pro boxer coming into the sport would line up their prospect to take on such a risk so early in their career. And that's true. Now, I'll give credit to Jake for even fighting Tommy Fury. Tommy had a ton of amateur experience, grew up in a fighting family, I think was 8-0 undefeated when he fought him. Jake was like 4 fights in. So yeah, credit where it's due. I just don't think he's ready for a world title. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.